Hi, I'm Eckard Bergh, Service Line Leader for Audit at RSM South Africa. And today I'm joined by Mark Nisbett, Audit Partner in our London office with 20-odd years of experience in multinational audits. Today we'll unpack the ever-increasing global footprint so many of our clients have and the impact it has on their statutory audits and choice of global service providers. Mark, thank you for joining the conversation today.
Great to be here.
Perhaps to set the scene, RSM is a network specialized in servicing companies with a global footprint. In South Africa, we service a lot of subsidiaries of global groups venturing into our economy. So from where I'm seated, more often than not, I'm the subsidiary auditor of a multinational group. Mark, I think from your perspective in the UK, you probably see the best of both worlds, being a subsidiary auditor as well as a group auditor. We often have the discussion among ourselves and our clients why it makes sense to have one global audit network look after the group audit. From management's point of view, it's important to have a service provider that understands the economies that they trade in and to be able to integrate that into the group audit strategy as well as the financial results. Mark, to kick off, from your experience, what's your experience been where you're the appointed group auditor within all subsidiaries within RSM, as opposed to being the appointed group auditor where the subsidiaries are audited by various network firms?
Thanks, Eckard. As you say, London Audit Partner, I've been working for over 20 years with international groups, and I've seen both sides of this. So I see the inbound reporting similar to you, and also the group auditor position. And from our perspective, it's an easier process when you're within one network and one group. It's the same audit methodology, you have the same process, we work together, we know each other. It's a much smoother audit and whole compliance cycle, really, because often some clients have multiple services. So actually just that whole process of running through the coordination, the sharing of information between you have the same systems and same protocols. So it's a much smoother process. You understand the terminology you're using and all that around it. So you can make it work across networks, of course you can, but from my process, my experience, it's a much smoother process overall.
Yeah, and I think with global with audit firms across the globe learning how to collaborate better, it really becomes a scenario of working with colleagues as opposed to working with strangers in different jurisdictions. And that communication, what I found, for instance, from a subsidiary level, is that even from a risk management perspective, for management as well as for the auditor, having to sign off on a set of accounts, that really goes a long way. I can recall a situation, for instance, where if you were to look at a subsidiary set of accounts separately, you would have no indicators that going concern may be a risk of the group. However, through being able to collaborate with a group auditor, there may be some financing problems at the top of the firm or top of the client. And once that group structure is at risk of going concern, that really filters down to all the subsidiaries. Once you work with one global firm, you eliminate that broken telephone communication where local auditor speaks to local management tries to translate to international management what the feedback was on the firm and what the risks were. Where if you've got one global group auditor, normally that lines of communication goes straight to the auditor and we all speak the same language.
Yeah, exactly. And I had exactly that scenario during the pandemic where the global group, none of the subsidiary auditors would have known what was going on from a going concern perspective, but we covered it at group level and we coordinated that across RSM globally. And it worked very well and very efficiently, and we were able to deal with that once with the client. The client appreciated the level of coordination. I think it really is that that bringing together, you can share that knowledge and that information that maybe not the subsidiary auditor would have come across or found out through local management, who equally didn't fully understand, and because they weren't involved in some of those going concern conversations centrally. It's that, and it's also the sharing of that central initial planning in the same terminology, that central understanding of the group, that if you're sharing that appropriately, and also looking at centralized controls and those kind of things where those might be appropriate for some part of the finance function, etc. Having that standard same approach to things definitely works, and that communication, that ability, say, as a group auditor or the other way around, I know when I'm sitting here, I just pick up the phone and can just talk to someone, and that's a person I know and I've worked with for years, and I think that makes a real difference in the communication levels and the understanding levels.
Yeah, and that's very relevant, especially in the larger organizations where shared service centers are being held within certain jurisdictions. And if those audits aren't performed in terms of your own audit methodology, that really causes a lot of duplication of work where different audit firms need to find comfort in those controls in terms of their methodologies. I've seen that personally, where I've been requested to rely on group audits work that's been done for certain areas where the group auditor is not an RSM firm. And it's then difficult to align those strategies. I think it also becomes a matter of delving into international capabilities and the intricacies of different jurisdictions. So in a lot of instances, well, I suppose in most instances, the group auditor would be relying on the local auditor to make sure that, for instance, laws and regulations are complied with in those jurisdictions, which they may not have the necessary expertise in, and be relying on subsidiary auditors. Now, again, a global audit methodology covers those kind of things, and those risks can be discussed upfront a little bit more freely than what you would have with a complete different firm.
Yeah, I agree. The understanding of where those nuances and differences lie internationally, but equally looking at it from a different angle, where you have a group accounting policies, and then you have the transition to local GAAP in each country, and where there might be a policy where, so for example, under IFRS, looking at a policy and actually summarizing that, looking at it globally and summarizing it once for the client, so you don't have the local audit teams having to have local conversations with management and might be asking different questions. If you've got one group approach to those that's reviewed centrally and then shared out locally, again, that just helps to smooth the process and then filter in. And we've done it in the center, and we've kind of filtered the questions from the RSM teams around the world just to make sure we're all on the same page, and we cover that early so that that doesn't become an issue later on in an audit process somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. And with centralized, for instance, technical centers of excellence within a network, one network may take a view on areas which require a lot of judgment, where a different network would have a slightly different view, and that's also great to come to one answer on a global level. When when dealing with those technical matters, those sticky matters that normally are the matters that could delay an audit or cause a lot of friction, to have one voice really makes a difference.
I agree. I mean, and clients always appreciate it.
Well, thanks, Mark. That was really interesting, and I think we both agree that working with one audit network firm definitely makes the process a lot smoother and ultimately results in a better quality audit at the end of the day.